Welcome back to Continental Club right here on Euro Football Daily. No Hamill the Animal, he named himself that today. So we've got Patrick Van Straten and Doogie Critchley in the building. The first question was sent in by Swagato Sarkar, making a comeback in the comments.
Big up,
he
Swagato.
Says, who is the most important player for their side in the Champions League? Now, we've done little bits and bobs on this. So I'm ruling out Messi, Neymar and CR7, all the biggest names immediately, because it's boring and nobody cares for it. We've talked about Messi a million times. Pato, who are you going to go for outside that group of names?
I think Mauro Icardi deserves a little bit of credit. So far, he's got 2 goals, a goal in each game in the Champions League, and both of them were winners. You know, getting the winner against Spurs, getting the winner against PSV Eindhoven, and I think that puts Inter in the driving seat to go through, which wasn't nailed on after their start to the season. His numbers look absolutely outrageous. Like, generally speaking, Icardi is not one of those guys who's had insane shot numbers. He's usually had a lower number, but they've been from really good zones. This season, he cannot stop shooting. 5.5 shots so far, and 1.5 chances created per game.
Because people don't give him any credit for the chances created. A lot of people only see him as an out-and-out poacher. We've had the discussion before as to whether he would work at a club like Barcelona or even Chelsea in the Maurizio Sarri system as a potential Morata replacement. Do you think he is more than a poacher?
Yeah, I definitely do. I mean, this isn't just this season. Generally speaking, his chances created have been pretty good. What he doesn't do is get heavily involved in possession. Like, he's not going to really help you in build-up. But the fact that he can create chances for the players around him, I think he would have been a really good fit for a Sarri system, you know, particularly at Napoli and maybe at Chelsea. I don't really know. Barcelona, perhaps not. That's a little bit extreme. But you could easily see him playing that all-round link-up man role. I don't think he's that dissimilar, really, to a player like Alexandre Lacazette, who I think is very good at link-up play.
Yeah, that's true, actually. Although, I just don't see Inter Milan. I know this question is not about who's going to go far in the Champions League, but I think Inter Milan, despite a fairly strong start to the campaign, are going to struggle and probably drop into the Europa League, where Mauro Icardi will have more success.
Do you think Spurs will still come back and manage to qualify?
I do think Spurs will better the result at Wembley. Because it goes on head-to-head, doesn't it? Not on goal.
So you think they'll win by more
I think they'll probably
2-1.
better the result than 2-1 at Wembley.
And then if they beat PSV...
And then they'll beat PSV.
Yeah, they probably won't concede to PSV. No, that's a fair point.
But I think Tottenham will sneak through.
I think Inter are one of those teams, though, who, if they did get through, I think they'd be quite dangerous over 2 legs because they're a pretty solid defensive side generally, and they've got so much midfield talent. I think if you're just difficult to beat in the Champions League, and you're capable of nicking a goal, that goes a long way. And Icardi is one of those guys, like Edin Dzeko for Roma, who could also be in this conversation, who will always be the one who nicks the goal. I mean, Edin Dzeko got a hat-trick against Victoria Pilsen. He had 8 shots, 7 of them were on target.
That's a fantastic record for Roma.
His record for Rome is absolutely
His record everywhere he's been has been phenomenal.
He's
really
been a great striker his whole career, and I think that when you have young attackers like Under, like Justin Kluivert, I think it's really helpful for them to have a really strong hold-up guy who can bring them into play and, you know, who is capable of laying balls off for those kind of people.
Yeah, man, he's got 20 and 31 for Roma in European competition. That's outstanding.
Those are unbelievable. I mean, if he did that for Real Madrid, we would be saying that he's one of the best strikers in Europe.
Yeah, absolutely do.
And he's 32.
Who are you going to go for, Dukes?
Well, my one's a little bit random, considering he's only played 1 game in the Champions League. But I was just really impressed with Matthijs de Ligt this week in Ajax's 1-1 draw with Bayern. He looks really assured. He's only 19, but he's already captain, or he was captaining them on the night anyway. And he was absolutely immense on the night. He limited Lewandowski to 2 shots, one of which was blocked and one of which was off target. He just had a really solid all-round game. I mean, I've got his stats here: 86% pass accuracy, 5 tackles, 3 aerial duels won. And he looks like the latest in a long procession of talent coming out of Ajax that can go to the top level. I mean, everyone's been talking about Frenkie de Jong this season, but I think the real star in that side is Matthijs de Ligt by a distance.
Ooh, that's punchy, man. Frenkie de Jong is outrageous.
I still think de Ligt has the bigger potential. And he looks like an all-round centre-back. He's 6'2" already. He's built not like a 19-year-old. He looks like he's ready for the top level now. And I know this is probably a bit premature because he only played 1 game in the Champions League, but his stats in the Eredivisie last season were really good as well. 33 starts, 3 goals, 2 assists, so he can contribute going forward. 2.7 tackles and interceptions, which is not fantastic, but then they're playing, you know, an Ajax side that tend to dominate the ball, so the numbers are not going to be outrageous in that sense. And yeah, it was just a really solid Champions League debut. But I'd also like to give a shout out to Paul Pogba. Despite the criticism he's been getting, despite the difficulties he's had, his stats in the Champions League are actually outrageous so far. I think he's making 3.5 key passes per game. He's already got 2 goals. Just a really impressive start statistically. And he's I know we endlessly talk about Man United, but if he leaves that midfield, I just seriously worry for them. I know, Joe, you could probably go on for days about Pogba, but what have you made of his start to the season form-wise?
Yeah, he's been good. He's been by far our best midfielder, which is not a hard thing to say. But the thing is, he could be better. That's arguably what's most frustrating about Pogba, is he puts out fantastic numbers. He still gets hammered. By the way, a lot of those Man United players should be thanking Paul Pogba for taking the heat off them, because he takes all of the for the players on the pitch, despite the fact that often there's only 1 or 2 of them performing well on the day. But I just feel like he could be even better than that. He could be the best midfielder in the world, Paul Pogba, if he was to really fulfil his potential.
He's got all the talent.
And I feel like he's not going to do that under Jose Mourinho, which is a little bit sad. Another midfielder I think is worth mentioning, he also plays for Ajax. I think Hakim Ziyech, really important to that team. Stitches midfield with attack together really well, especially when they use Dusan Tadic as a false 9. I think he's averaging 6 shots a game.
Yeah, I mean he shoots.
Champions League.
He's got quite Coutinho shot
Very
selection.
much so. But I don't think that's the worst for a team like Ajax, especially when they're going away to clubs like Bayern Munich, because might not carve out the best opportunities, despite the fact they actually did. Van der Beek had an unbelievable chance in that game. Should have definitely got more than a point, in my opinion, anyway, for Ajax. A couple other names I think worth mentioning. Sergio Busquets at Barcelona. If you take him out of that Barcelona side, there's nobody to replace him. I know they signed midfielders in the summer in Arthur and Arturo Vidal, and Sergio Roberto can deputise in the midfield. There was sort of Rakitic in there too. But none of them play the role Busquets does.
None of them control it.
In the same way Busquets does. He's averaging 7.5 tackles and interceptions per game this season. I think against Tottenham, he had 100% pass accuracy and 9 tackles and interceptions, which is just phenomenal. His use and his spatial awareness on the pitch is probably the best I've ever seen of a defensive midfielder.
I think
his ability to roll players and turn them and then split the line with one pass is just unbelievable.
It's really nice to see, because since Xavi and Iniesta have Xavi retired and since Iniesta started winding down, Busquets, the acclaim that he's got is gone up, instrumentally, because he was so underrated for years, and everyone would just talk about Xavi and Iniesta endlessly, but it was really Busquets that controls the tempo in that side, controls the ball progression.
He's absolutely in with a shout of the best defensive midfielder of all time.
Yeah, definitely. I would put him there.
He's in the conversation anyway, especially as part of that Barcelona, probably one of the greatest teams I've ever seen play the game. I think there's also a shout for Antoine Griezmann going forward for Atletico Madrid. Yeah. When he's not in the side, they really do look a pale imitation of the Atletico with him in it. I think he's linking really well with Diego Costa now. It's obviously taken a little bit of time this time around for them just to find their feet and find who's playing where in the movement and the roles. But particularly for one of the goals midweek this week, it was a lovely bit of link-up play. Griezmann kind of scooped the ball over the top. Costa stopped, faked the shot, cut it back, and Griezmann tapped into an open net. Yeah. And I think if Simeone can get those two linking fluidly this season, they're going to be a nightmare in the Champions League.
And if they get Lamar going as well.
Especially because they're so brilliant defensively. I just feel like Atletico could go really deep this year. Brilliant defensively. The midfield just looks a little bit more experienced this time around, and that front two is so dangerous. Griezmann putting up 2.5 shots a game, 2.5 key passes. I think he's got 2 goals and assists already this season. He is going to have a phenomenal Champions League campaign.
Started very well as well.
Yeah, so I'm hopeful Atleti could potentially challenge a final here.
I'd
love to see like an Atleti Man City final. Well, obviously, I wouldn't like to see City in the final, but I think it could happen.
An interesting mix of styles.
One more player I think deserves a mention, Virgil van Dijk. Virgil van Dijk is probably one of the most key components to any side in Europe. If you take Van Dijk out of that side, Liverpool probably don't get past the quarterfinals.
Yeah, you might be right.
If they keep him in, I think that's a final.
And there's certainly no title race without him as well.
Exactly, 100%.
City can lose De Bruyne but still be in the mix easily, but I don't think Liverpool can without
Definitely, and Joe Gomez has come on leaps and bounds this season. I think we can all agree in terms of his athleticism and his passing out from the back. But for me, that's because he's sat next to Virgil van Dijk. If you stick him next to Lovren, I think that defence suddenly starts to look a little bit shaky, particularly away to big European sides. Virgil van Dijk just controls the game from the back. He controls that whole back line. He's a leader. He passes so brilliantly. I actually think he's as good as Toby Alderweireld as a distributor from the back.
Maybe over shorter distances. I think Alderweireld's long balls tend to be, they're right up there with Bonucci, I think, and one of the best in the world. But yeah, it's
they're asked to do slightly different things, I guess. But obviously that defence has really improved, and with people like Naby Keita there, you think they've got more ball progression out of midfield than they did last year. But I don't know. I don't have that much faith in Liverpool without him.
I really wasn't impressed with them. I only watched the highlights, but I really wasn't impressed with them against Napoli.
But I think they just had a nightmare.
They created bugger all.
Yeah, I don't think Napoli were even. I mean, Napoli were good, but Liverpool just didn't turn up for whatever reason, and Keita went off early, so it's a little bit of a nightmare for them. But I don't know. It just shows how fine the margins are. You need the right draw, and you need all your players to be fit at the right time. You can easily miss somebody for just the wrong game.
100%.
And suddenly you've got, like PSG missing Neymar.
Yeah.
It's been interesting though, the start to the Champions League. I don't think any side, barring Barcelona, has looked at their best so far. Juve have played actually quite well, shout out to them, but like Bayern haven't looked that great, City lost that game, Liverpool have lost, PSG have looked, no, PSG played poorly against Liverpool. No one's really hit the top straps yet.
Juve look probably the most dangerous so far, and that's with a Cristiano Ronaldo-less game last week. Yeah. Paulo Dybala obviously were unhappy, but then they have played fairly comfortable opposition. If they're not smacking Man United smack young boys around.
Yeah.
So
and Valencia were quite poor against Juve as well.
Yeah, so I think a good test will be Juventus versus United, even though United aren't at their best. It's definitely a step up for them. But who do you guys at home think is the most important player for their team in the Champions League? Don't include Ronaldo, Messi or any of that rubbish. Let us know in the comments below. Moving on now to quickfire questions. The first one was sent in by B. Gianascoli. He says, is Varane the best centre-back in the world? Patrick Van Straten, you want to kick us off?
He's definitely got a shout. Like, he's very fast, he's tall, he's a good reader of the game. I think Umtiti might be a little bit better, maybe. I think Umtiti, maybe it's just Umtiti's passing, I think, is probably better, and Umtiti's really good in the one-on-one. He reads the game really well, so Umtiti might be my favourite, but obviously there are other guys up there, Alderweireld, Van Dijk, Hummels, who's been absolutely outrageous.
Do you think Alderweireld still is up there?
Yeah, I mean, like even in that Barcelona game, if I was looking at the defenders on the pitch, the centre backs on the pitch, I think Alderweireld is the best of them. And I know Koulibaly as well. He's very good, and Bonucci's still excellent. So I don't know. I think it's quite difficult because like teams play different styles and require different things of their centre backs, and I'm not sure that a good centre back is a good centre back for every team. But Umtiti has a really hard job at Barcelona where he has to cover a ton of ground. He has to deal with people running through midfield who have no cover all the time, and he just does it brilliantly. And he has done since the day he turned up there, and they're much better with him than without him.
And he covers Jordi Alba's space so efficiently, without a care in the world, really. I think their win percentage is like 30% better when he plays.
Yeah, when he plays, I think their win percentage is 82%. When he doesn't, it's 54%.
Yeah, I think Umtiti's definitely up there. Also, I think we have to mention Sergio Ramos in and around that name group. I definitely think he's up there. Varane, Ramos, Umtiti, I kind of agree. Those are the three outstanding candidates, and then I think you drop to Van Dijk being the fourth. I actually think Van Dijk is the fourth best in the world.
Maybe not so much in the last year or so, but Chiellini was up there for a long time, I think, as well, in terms of that sort of warrior centre-back that you want. Not necessarily the best on the ball, but just a great reader of the game and really solid in the air.
I think him and Bonucci, though, not past it, but they're still very good centre backs. But I don't think you can put them in the same calibre as an Umtiti or Varane.
I've always thought that Vertonghen is actually equally as good as Alderweireld.
He had an amazing season last year.
Yeah,
and
I thought Toby had quite. I thought he had quite a poor season last year by his high standards.
For about half the season.
And he was injured as well. But Vertonghen was outrageous.
But Varane definitely up there. He can do it all. And since Pepe's gone to Besiktas, he's really made that position his own.
Yeah, that was a really hard space to fill actually, because Pepe was the best player at Euro 2016 at the age of 34 or something. Like, so those are big shoes to fill. But I don't know. I mean, having Ramos by your side and Carvajal and Marcelo is pretty helpful.
Although I think sometimes defending alongside Ramos must be quite just a bit like, what are you doing now?
No,
but he takes the hits for
I
you.
actually think Ramos is incredibly underrated in terms of people put him up as the rash player, and I feel like that's because he sees a lot of cards. But I feel like a lot of the time it works.
Yeah,
like him flying out the line is a tactic.
And if you're one of those defenders, you are always going to look a bit rash. So like Otamendi got this,
100%.
Koscielny got this, and like they're not on that level, but at the same time they are guys who that was their role to go out and press. And the guy who mops up behind doesn't get red cards, and so everyone assumes that they're the good one.
Yeah.
Like I think that's always a little bit harsh actually. Yeah. Like sometimes your role is to do that, and particularly under Zidane, Real Madrid had no defensive structure at all. Their plan was, well, if they've got the ball, they're going to try and attack us at some point, and at that point we assume that all of our defenders are better one-on-one than they are, and that was pretty much fair, like because their defenders are so good.
He's also surprisingly good technically. I had no idea he could take such a good penalty. He can
Ramos,
he's got great
Ramos
technique.
is outrageous technically.
And also, when you think about his goal-scoring ability, like what that adds to a side, if you're going to score 70, 80 career goals as a centre back,
goals at crucial times.
That's such an unexpected weapon for that team to have. So. I mean, it's like, I mean, Harry Maguire is kind of the cheap version of that, right? Yeah. Where he does get goals for Leicester when they need them. He gives them another weapon from set pieces. That's invaluable.
100%. It really is. Let's go to the next one then. This one was sent in by Reese Clifford. He said, if/when Mourinho gets sacked, where will he go next?
Oh, the only place that I see as a natural fit for him next is back to Inter Milan. But I don't see Spalletti losing his job. That's anytime soon in the next 12 months anyway. I cannot see Mourinho going to another Premier League club, another top club in Spain. I couldn't see him at Bayern Munich. I couldn't see him at Dortmund. He's just so philosophically against so many of the top clubs in Europe now. And I don't know why a top club would want him, to be honest. But someone like an Inter Milan where he's already got such a good reputation with the fans. Obviously, I don't think Massimo Moratti's... Do I mean that? Yeah, Massimo Moratti, he's not there anymore. He was his great ally there. But yeah, Inter Milan is the only one I could naturally see.
I think that's a good shout, Inter Milan.
I think AC Milan will go for him, and we'll see how long.
Will he betray the legacy though?
Well, I mean, he went to United. I think that. I think they're the ones who would want him because they're the Italian team at the moment who don't have a great manager.
Don't you think he only took United because that was the job he always really wanted? I don't know.
I think he only took United because United were desperate for a Galactico manager, and he fitted the book. And also, he wanted
highly paid job.
He also wanted to Chelsea.
Yeah,
that's right. Chelsea, him and Chelsea fell out big time.
It's a great job to have as well. I mean, like, maybe he goes and manages the Portugal national team.
He would be great in a national setup. Actually,
I actually
when you don't need, you don't need. You're tactically basing around one game or one tournament. He'd be great.
He doesn't have a complicated system.
Yeah, England manager after Southgate.
I actually think he needs to take a break from football. I think he needs a year out. He has not had a break.
You're convinced that he's lost it.
He has to take some time to himself. He looks burnt out. He needs to go and understand some new ideas, go and experience some new things. He just needs a break.
Look after your family.
The guy's shot to bits at the moment. And don't get me wrong, he could come back and smash it at a club like Inter Milan, I'm sure. But just take a break, take your foot off the gas. You've earned probably 15, 20 million from getting sacked by United. Don't rush back into another job.
Yeah, I don't know if he's ever gonna.
It's good life advice, Joe.
Managers never really reinvent themselves. Like there are very few managers who've been able to do that. They pretty much always do what they do. And if he takes a year out, I do worry that he'll get even further away from what's kind of cutting edge in football. But yeah, I don't know. Surely he won't want to go straight into a job after this unless he has an opportunity to United like he did Chelsea. You know, I think that would be his only incentive to try and do it.
Well, good luck whoever picks him up.
Everton.
The last quick-fire question before we move on to big match preview was sent in by Frians. He says, what is your non-biased favourite Champions League final moment? So that rules out the John Terry slip for me immediately because that was an absolute phenomenon. You can take it, please.
I'll take it then. Fantastic moment.
Love that.
Absolutely wasn't it?
What's not enjoyable about it? It's tremendous.
Yeah,
that
was
just
good.
A moment you really enjoyed in the Champions League final.
Yeah, I was a bit young for Istanbul. I don't really remember watching. I was only 11. But I think the best final for me was the Chelsea one against Bayern Munich with Drogba scoring the last minute and then the penalties. I thought that was a great final. I also loved Real's La Decima against Atletico when they scored in the last minute and then it went to extra time and then I think they won 4-2. I thought that was a cracking final. 4-1.
That was so frustrating.
That was an awesome final.
Atleti could have won the double. I don't know. That was a bit heartbreaking.
I've always been more of a Real man than an Atleti man.
That was a really fun Real Madrid team. I really liked that Real Madrid team, but I was really hoping Atleti would do it. And certainly the next time they played in the final, I was desperate for Atleti to win. That was heartbreaking.
Also, do you remember the standard of goals in the 2011 final between Barca and Man United? David Villa scored that great goal.
That was actually probably one of the best finals I've ever watched. It
was a bit one-sided.
I would say that was the best performance I've ever seen in a final.
Messi's goal wasn't
when Barcelona could have scored about 8 against
it was outrageous.
They were just unplayable, unbelievable. My favourite moment, actually, right up there, I will go for Gareth Bale's over a kick against Liverpool. This recent one just got an incredible goal.
Yeah.
Not even in the Puskas Award nominees.
Yeah, that was mental.
Also, I'll go Mandzukic's overhead kick
against
Madrid the year before. I was in the stadium and it was right in front of me.
Cardiff.
And it was just unbelievable.
Really?
I still prefer Zidane's to both of those.
I don't really remember
Zidane's. It's just a bit sorry for Mandzukic. That goal will just be forgotten, but it was awesome.
Yeah, it was a fantastic goal. That was a really fun final, actually.
Yeah, I don't really remember Zidane's, but that was ours. So who are your favourite UEFA Champions League final moments? Look at that for a segue. Again, you can leave a comment below or you can tweet us on these handles. Our big match preview this weekend then comes from Valencia versus Barcelona, Sunday 7:45 kickoff. Now, this is a bit of a tasty one. Valencia are on a torrid run. Barcelona are on a torrid run. But both teams got good results midweek in the Champions League. Gentlemen, how do we see this one going? Pato, start with you.
Ooh, I don't know. I would like Valencia to start picking up the results that they probably deserve. Last season, they ran a bit hot against expected goals. You know, they were overperforming. And this season, it's been the opposite. They're already, I think, pretty much 4 goals behind in terms of goals scored. Scored about 4 goals fewer than expectation, which is crazy after 7 games of the season.
Especially if you think they bought in Gamero and Batshuayi in the summer.
Yeah, plus they made Guedes move permanent. I think they did the same with Kondogbia.
Yeah, they did.
Spent quite a bit of money. Lost Cancelo at right back, but you imagine they should be able to absorb that. Really, it's been a tale of not being able to get the win when they've needed it, though. Like a lot of draws so far. 5 draws out of 7 in the league. And that draw against Man United in the Champions League as well. I mean, Guedes was free for half the game and they just could not make the breakthrough.
I think really should have beaten us, Valencia.
Yeah. I think maybe they should have, but it was quite an even game now I think about it. But like Batshuayi, I think will score plenty this season. I think the Mestalla is a really tough place to go.
Yeah.
Really tough place to go. In the Nuno Espirito Santo days, they beat Real Madrid there. I think they drew with Barcelona there. And I would like for this to be the game where they start to build on their underlying numbers. I would like them to get a 2-1 win in this match.
Yeah, I feel like a loss would be devastating to Valverde. Dukes, what do you reckon?
Yeah, I mean it's not been as free flowing as last year. I mean at this stage last year Barcelona had won all 7 of their opening games, scoring 23 and conceding just 2. This year they've played 7, won 4, lost 1 and drawn 2. They've scored 18 and conceded 8. So that's quite a swing in performance, at least domestically. But they did look good against Spurs midweek, although Messi did pretty much take over. It's slightly strange though because they're actually averaging more shots per game and conceding fewer than they were on average last year. And they haven't really had that many tests so far. I mean, their loss to Leganes, they drew against Girona. And before that, they drew against Athletic Bilbao. So there's been a slight, not really getting the performances they need from these early fixtures. And it's not been as free-flowing as previous years. Definitely an attack. And Piqué is making some horrendous errors at the back. I don't know what is going on with Gerard Piqué.
I feel like they're trying to phase Piqué out slowly but surely and bring in Lenglet.
But then he got sent off.
Umtiti.
So I think he's suspended for this game.
Lenglet,
And they've got no Umtiti.
He also played midweek, so that's probably right.
So we're looking at Vermaelen and Piqué centre-back.
I think we're looking at Vermaelen and Piqué centre-back pair, which is not particularly nice, actually. But I'm pretty sure that Valverde won't make the same mistake he did last match week by resting Lionel Messi in this one. I think Lionel Messi will definitely start, particularly coming off the back of that incredible Tottenham performance. I don't think Valencia are going to allow Barcelona as much room in the midfield as Tottenham did midweek, though. I think Tottenham got it all wrong in midfield. Messi dropped in between Winks and Wanyama really effectively, and they just had no coping mechanism. Whereas I think Valencia are going to be way more compact in the midfield. I expect Kondogbia to put in another good performance. He's been really good since joining Valencia, hasn't he? So this is going to be a tight one.
Yeah.
And Valverde, I'll be honest, can't afford to lose this.
Although
Barcelona fans fucking hate Valverde. They hate him, and I don't get why. Maybe it's just because of the standard. I feel like it's kind of a bit like the Mourinho situation.
I think
where the
apparently
style of
he makes
rank.
very defensive substitutions and he doesn't go for it enough.
The style of football is disgusting.
It's also they're kind of criticising somebody just for what they are. You know, it's just like that. That is the kind of manager he is.
Yeah.
You hired him.
Like they hired him. It's not his fault that he's not.
They are also quite an entitled group of fans. You can't really get enough.
Man.
Nothing is ever good enough for Barcelona.
Everybody has to live up to the Pep Guardiola expectation, and it's very hard. Score predictions then for this one.
Well, Barcelona actually have a really good record in this fixture. I think they've only lost 2 of their last 22 meetings. So I'd be really surprised if Valencia got a win. But for some reason, I'm thinking a score draw. I'm just thinking. I think might be 2-2 actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, quite a meaty fixture this. Messi in good form.
I could see that happening. I mean, with my heart, I want Valencia to get something out of it. So I'm going to say 2-2 as well, actually.
I think Valencia are going to win. I think the lack of Longley or Umtiti is going to cost them pretty badly. And Busquets also picked up a knock in midweek. I know that he continued to play the game, but I wonder whether he might be a bit stiff on the way. I'm going to go for
not at full fitness.
2-1 Valencia in this one.
Wowza.
But what's your score prediction? Leave it in the comments below. It's the third call to action, so if you're not doing this one, then it's understandable. So that's it for this episode of Continental Club on EFD. Gentlemen, what else is happening on the Football Daily Network this weekend?
Well, we are... Oh, no, we're not. Only I am on the Football Social this weekend. I'm on tomorrow's Football Social, watching the huge game between Tottenham and Cardiff.
Does it get any bigger?
With my boy Ryan Mason.
Oh, yeah.
You and him are pretty tight now, aren't you?
No. But he is a nice bloke.
Yep. Dukes, what else?
Come back on Sunday as well, because we're doing another Football Social. We can't get enough of it. And that's obviously the big game between Liverpool and Man City, which we are all very excited about.
I'm not excited.
Pato's
Tottenham, Cardiff.
I am. Sean Goater's in the studio.
The GOAT?
Feed him. Kieran's already giving items to be signed to everybody. Get him to sign it.
How many Man City fans know who Sean Goater is?
Oh, loads.
It's how you figure out who's fake and who isn't.
Yeah, 100%. I think Kieran's going to get him to sign a nude.
Wowza. Again, second wowza of the episode.
Bye.